Hello, everyone. My name is Stanley St. Rose, and today we're going to be talking about Sense and Sensibility, written by Jane Austen. Now, before I go into the summary analysis of this work, please remember to leave a like, subscribe, and or comment so that the channel can continue to grow. So within this work, we have Henry Dashwood, and he's dying, and he pretty much tells his son, "Hey, you have a stepmother. Take care of them with your three half sisters." And John doesn't do this. His wife gets involved with it. He doesn't do this. He just gives them what they need within the will. So whatever was in the will, that's what he gives to them. He doesn't really go above and beyond for them. So within this where we do see these girls trying to figure out who they're going to get married to, who they're going to end up with, and pretty much how their lives are going to end up. So at first, Marianne and you know Mrs. Dashwood, they're having a tough time. They're no more carriage rides, no more luxurious things. Um, they're just living. They're just trying to get by with what they have. Eleanor is very sensible, very reasonable. She's trying to do what she can to help the family stay afloat. Spend what they can and not overindulge on any other types of things. We do see a relationship develop between Eleanor and Edward, the brother of Fanny. But then, Edward was already involved with another woman by the name of Lucy Steele. And Lucy Steele, she wanted somebody with money. That's why she doesn't marry Edward. She ends up with Robert, that, inherited Edward's money. So ultimately, by the end of the work, Edward and Eleanor end up together, but it does take some time. The engagement, or the promise of the engagement between Edward and Lucy Steele, had to be broken up first. Eleanor and Edward had to figure out their feelings for each other, but by the end of the work, they do end up together. Marianne, on the other hand, she goes through bouts of sicknesses, diseases, anxiety. At some point, she thought she was going to be with Willoughby. Willoughby seemed like a great person, but he was engaged or involved with another woman by the name of Mrs. Gray. So Willoughby was already engaged with her. So that relationship went to nowhere. And Marianne ends up marrying a man by the name of Colonel Brandon. She wanted Willoughby, but she got Brandon because her mother and her sister were like, "Listen, Marianne, you need to get married. You know, Colonel Brandon is a good choice. Maybe he's not your first choice, but he's a good choice." So by the end of the work, these two women, they do end up getting married. The family do end up in a better place, in which, like, the novel, start with them losing everything, their finances, their riches. They're not rich by the end, but at least they're married and they have a future. So this work, we do see these women adjusting after Henry Dashwood dies. We see them trying to figure out life on their own. We see them trying to navigate relationships. We see people try to help them here and there. We see people come in and out of their lives. We see them trying to find men that would be great husbands, which is, it's kind of really sad that, after Henry Dashwood dies, you would think that these girls would be well taken care of, but because of Fanny, because of John's family, he doesn't really treat his stepsisters right. His half sisters, they're not just stepsisters. They're his half sisters. But his wife gets involved. His wife puts in his 2 cents, and John pretty much, he gives them what was in the will, but he doesn't really take care of them after that. These women, after navigating relationships and trying to figure out what they can get and what they want in life, they do end up married by the end of the work. But again, it wasn't easy. We see the strategic, in terms of deeper meaning and analysis here within this work, we see the strategic maneuvers within England, especially at this time, what it takes for a woman to, um, find someone rich, to get engaged, to get married, to meet the basic necessities of life. And it's not easy, because it's not just falling in love, but you have to find someone who has enough money that's going to take care of you, to where you're not going to fall out of the social class that you're in, because you want to marry well. You want to marry somebody with finances so you can stay within your social class. So it's quite sad what happens to these women. It's also, it really shines a light upon, how cutthroat, this social, climate is, because Lucy Steele, she just wanted the man with the most money, because when she thought Edward, um, you know, when she thought Edward had the money and the inheritance that she could live off of, that she could be with, she wanted to be with Edward. But as soon as she heard that the inheritance went to Robert, Edward's younger brother, she switched over to the younger brother. So Lucy Steele, she is a Steele. But it does, we do get basically a happy ending by the end of this work, with, Eleanor, and Edward. And, we get a somewhat happy ending, with, Colonel Brandon and Marianne. Although, it wasn't that like Marianne was like, you know, super excited and jumping in with Colonel Brandon. It's just her mother and her sister were like, you should probably do this. This is probably the best decision for you right now. Um, get married with Colonel Brandon. And Colonel Brandon, he's a decent guy, He shows his affections for Marianne. He shows that he really wants to be with her throughout the work. So, he's not the first choice. Maybe he's not, um, you know, Prince Charming, but he gets the job done. I guess he checks all the boxes for what they're looking for. So Sense and Sensibility, for me, it's like you got to do what you got to do. All right, this book, it really boils down to you have to do what you have to do with the social climate that you're living in. These women are living in England. They live in a social class, where money, is important. Who you marry is important. Who you connect yourself with is important. And it comes down to what makes sense. And if you want to maintain your social status, if you want to maintain your finances, marriage is very important. So, in many cases, the marriages are less about, um, true love and more about securing your future. Even though Edward, after losing his fortune, he's not the richest person around, it's still, um, the connection between him and Eleanor. It was already there, and well, it's better than nothing. So these two women, Eleanor and Marianne, they do find, a future, going forward. It's not perfect, but it's better than just being alone and not getting married at all. Because if you didn't get married in this social climate at all, then you just faded away. So that's my summary analysis of this work. Please remember to leave a like, subscribe, and or comment, and I'll see you guys in the next video.